So,
Commissioner Rodnick, you're up.
thank you. Yeah, so we have Earth Charter Indiana, Kathy Sipple, and one of the 6 interns that we supported to do a greenhouse gas study throughout really northwest Indiana, not just a watershed area. And Kathy and Juliana, is it Rosa or Rosa? Rosa will be doing a presentation, and Juliana is a student at Purdue and actually is from Munster. So,
Thank you. Ladies, have at it.
Thank you very much.
If you could speak in and introduce yourself into the microphone, because we're recording this for posterity's sake, so it's really cool from that standpoint.
Yes, while Julianne is getting the slideshow up, I'll just go ahead and tell you I'm Kathy Simple. I'm the Senior Resilience Coordinator with Earth Charter Indiana. And Julianne, as Commissioner Rodnick's already said, is one of our very able interns, and we found that calling them climate fellows actually gave them a little bit more respect when they had to ask the cities and utilities for data. And we also had a surprise guest. I just want to acknowledge her behind us. We didn't know she was going to be able to join. Kathy Luther from Yorksey was another very valuable partner on this project, and we would have definitely included her had we known she would be there. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. First of all, we just want to say thank you. This would literally not have been possible without your support. You gave us $12,000 to help fund these interns to work for 10 weeks, and you literally made history with your gift. This was the first regional greenhouse gas emissions inventory in the state of Indiana, and one of just a handful in the country. So it's really pretty record breaking. Also, this is going to provide us some baseline data that we're going to be using for the next phase, which will be doing a climate action plan if all things go as we hope next year. And it allowed me as an employee of Earth Charter Indiana to engage with the interns and with Repay throughout the summer, and to supplement the 2 interns that were appointed to us by IU. We were able to hand select interns from the region, so we were very happy to get 4 from the region. And it helped an intern like Julianne get some real world experience that we hope will come back to the region to help out. Oh, I should say too, on the slide, we do now have a PDF of the first draft. I don't have it printed, it's printed nowhere, and it's not even fit for consumption yet, or we would have been happy to share a link. We're still checking the data, but it's really come along in this last week, so we're very excited. Just to let you know a little bit where we are in the timeline. We didn't know exactly where we would be when we scheduled this presentation, but Julianne came on board in May, started full force in June, and then here we are in August. We're literally just getting the data up, and we'll go through the end of the timeline a little bit later.
Hi everyone. So as Kathy said, I was one of the team of interns that was able to work on this project. And unfortunately, due to COVID, we're only able to meet in person once this whole summer, but we were able to adapt. We had weekly or daily co-working sessions. And our intern team came from all different towns, the majority being from the region. And then as Kathy said, I'm actually from Munster, so very exciting to be speaking with you here today. The interns also came from 3 different universities, Purdue, IU, and IUN, and then 6 different majors. So we had backgrounds in data, engineering, climate policy, and natural resource management. And these different backgrounds allowed us to give a more holistic approach to the project. So we have experts in various areas that were applicable to the project. For the jurisdictions that were included in this project, we had 5 interns that handled 14 jurisdictions, which included 3 counties and 11 cities or towns. It is important to measure and identify the emissions from these jurisdictions, as their contribution to climate change cannot be addressed until it is actually measured. That made this project the necessary groundwork for climate action in the participating communities and then at the region as a whole. Compared to other interns that were present in the cohort through IU, those interns only had 1 jurisdiction to complete in the same time frame, and our team of 5 was able to complete 14 in that same amount of time. So as a result, our collaborative method proved to be more cost effective and efficient in completing inventories for a larger number of jurisdictions in the same area, which allowed us to give a regional picture of greenhouse gas emissions.
Just wanted to tell you, we are not going to do a deep dive. I know you guys have a lot on your agenda today, but for anybody who wants to know deep dive behind the data, we are going to be doing another presentation on September 2nd through NERC, through Kathy Luther's committee that she heads up, the Environmental Management and Policy Committee meeting. So that's accessible via Zoom, and you can get there through NERC's website. We can share the slide deck too, so you'll have that link should anybody want that.
Now I'm just going to provide a very brief technical overview of the project. So on this slide here, as one example of the output of the inventory, this pie chart contains the results for Lake County. We chose 2017 as the baseline year for Lake County's inventory, as in 2019, Gary and Michigan City completed the same greenhouse gas inventory, and their baseline year was 2017. So in order to be on par, we also chose that same year. The data for each sector that was analyzed was either provided to us by utilities, or we utilized data from the EPA or Indiana Department of Environmental Management. The data that we utilized for the report contains the data that was best available to us during this small time frame, and the report is able to be updated as new data comes in, when and if better data comes available to us. As you can see on the graphic, the emissions for each jurisdiction were broken down into 7 sectors. These sectors were transportation and mobile sources, solid waste, water and wastewater, commercial, industrial, and residential energy, then process and fugitive emissions. And then for jurisdictions that have a very large impact from industrial emissions, such as Lake County, we also are providing a pie chart that excludes those emissions, so that the sectors whose emissions can be more easily acted upon at the community level were identified for those communities. And then to provide you an example of a town's inventory output, here's the chart for Lake Station. Each community participating in this project will receive a detailed report with the results of their individual inventories, and they all will receive a similar pie chart with their outputs. While having all 3 counties participate was essential in capturing the comprehensive regional inventory, having these individual jurisdictions participating allowed us to identify clear and actionable data on the community level. And as the characteristics of each sector vary greatly between city and town, capturing inventories at both the individual and regional level aids in the climate action phase of this project, as areas of need have been more easily and accurately identified compared to if we just did the inventory on the county level. And now, in terms of how this relates to flood prevention, as the increase in flooding is prevalent in the Midwest, as the impact of climate change continues to grow in severity, this inventory served as the groundwork for establishing where each jurisdiction is in terms of its impact of greenhouse gas emissions, which allows for us to identify which sectors will require future mitigation in order to combat the sector's impact on greenhouse gas emissions and then therefore climate change. Here's an example of an area that I have experience in that can be utilized as a climate mitigation strategy. So that is the use of rain gardens or bioswales to combat stormwater pooling. Methods such as these can serve as a stormwater management tool, as well as a method to sequester carbons and remove pollutants from the air. So pictured on this slide is a project that I completed in the spring of 2020, where we installed multiple rain gardens to help combat some stormwater pooling issues. And in terms of a local example, Gary, who is a community that, as I said, completed the same greenhouse gas inventory in 2019, recently implemented a bioswale as a form of green infrastructure to mitigate stormwater runoff issues and help prevent flooding.
So the next steps, I mean, it's great that we now have this baseline data. None of us want to just have another report that gets dusty on the shelf. What we really want to do is go right into climate action planning. And so with any luck at all, I'm very happy to say I've got this young woman who will be completing out the year. She graduates in December, and she's going to be extending her internship through the end of the year. So she will help me prepare an application. We're going to be reaching out to all the communities that participated in this phase to encourage them to stay with that momentum and stay with us through the climate action planning. So IU kind of has this rotating cycle where they do the greenhouse gas emissions on their odd years and then a climate action plan on even years. So we will be submitting that application by December when it's due, and hopefully in January, we'll be hitting the ground running with developing a climate action plan. We don't have that yet. When we were planning for this, Commissioner Broadnax was saying, okay, so what's next? Or like, that's exactly what we'll be doing next year, is figuring out the what's next. And there's even an additional stage beyond that, and that's the community engagement. So just developing the plan next year, and then hopefully reaching out to communities and getting them on board to implement the program. Just want to include and acknowledge IU's Environmental Resilience Institute. They've been a really helpful partner. They host webinars that any of you are very welcome to join. They've got a whole lot of tools on here too, like the Commissioner Resilience Index that you may find valuable. Just want to let you know about their toolkit, and would be happy to make any introductions if you would like. And also to learn more, I wanted to invite you, anybody who'd be interested, to join virtually, unless you really want to go down to Evansville. Earth Charter is hosting its 6th annual Climate Leadership Summit. So it attracts a lot of leaders at the city levels, county levels, that are doing great things to look at climate mitigation, including reducing flooding. So you're certainly welcome to do that, and we will allow time for Q&A if you've got it. I'm not sure how we're doing with time.
Excellent, thank you. All right, back to the board. Any question for these young ladies?
Take that as a compliment.